whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. Threats between nations usually involve economic sanctions, border disputes, or specific military targets. A direct, public ultimatum threatening the total extinction of a civilization sits completely outside the bounds of modern diplomacy. But that is the exact warning issued by Donald Trump. He wants a decisive end to the conflict, but he currently lacks a viable exit strategy. The entire region is currently trapped in a widening war. Multiple nations are now pulled into the fighting, and the major players are under immense pressure to find an off-ramp. But the traditional channels for negotiation have collapsed. And when backroom diplomacy fails, that vacuum is quickly filled by extreme, apocalyptic threats. Pakistan recently stepped in to mediate, reaching out to the Iranian foreign minister to act as a neutral bridge between Tehran and Washington. This illustrates the Islamabad Accord. The proposal asked for an end to hostilities and required the Strait of Hormuz to remain open for all traffic. In exchange, the parties would have exactly 20 days to negotiate a broader peace agreement. Iran rejected the Pakistani proposal immediately, stating clearly that the terms were unacceptable. A neutral middleman only works if both sides want the same outcome. Right now, the core demands of the US and Iran are completely incompatible. This ledger illustrates Tehran's counterproposal to the US. We can break their demands down into 3 distinct pillars. First, they demand a total cessation of all US military hostilities. Second, they require permanent security guarantees that the US will never launch another war against Iran. And third, they want massive financial reparations paid directly by the United States. Tehran argues these payments are owed because recent US attacks have heavily degraded their energy infrastructure, striking key oil refineries and civilian areas. From the American perspective, there is zero chance of this happening. The United States will not fund the reconstruction of Iran. The US doesn't view Iran's clerical leaders as traditional diplomats. They see the supreme leadership as a facade masking a military dictatorship. For 3 decades, the IRGC has relied heavily on asymmetric warfare, using proxy forces and unconventional tactics to project power against larger conventional militaries. That unconventional strategy includes active assassination plots. The regime has repeatedly attempted to target highly visible American figures, including former National Security Advisor John Bolton. You cannot build a ceasefire under these conditions. The US will not pay reparations to a state that actively plots against its officials. The negotiations are locked in a stalemate. This brings us back to Trump's ultimatum. If you look at the second half of his post, he spells out exactly what he expects to happen next. He states that a complete and total regime change is required, arguing that peace is only possible when different, less radicalized minds prevail. Tehran is demanding financial compensation from Washington, while Washington demands the total removal of Tehran's leadership. The moment one side demands regime change, the framework for a ceasefire is destroyed. A government cannot negotiate its own surrender under a peace treaty. The Iranian leadership is deeply entrenched. Evident in their public displays of reverence for military commanders, the IRGC will not simply dissolve themselves voluntarily. The White House, and indeed the entire region, are now bracing for the immediate fallout. Over the next few hours, everyone is waiting on press conferences to see what actual policies follow these statements. Right now, there is no middle ground left to find. The Middle East is caught in a diplomatic nightmare, waiting to see if this stalemate ends in a prolonged standoff, or if those initial threats of destruction become a reality.